everyone, I'm Joe da Siser North America. Welcome to my class. Just to give you a heads up, this class is going to be about Siser EasySubli heat transfer vinyl. So you may have heard about it. We've been talking about it, really pushing it for a long time now, but I know a lot of people still have a lot of questions about it and they want to see how it works and how it can bring out a new endeavor for their garment or whatever project you're doing to show you multicolor. Another awesome tool that is now available over at Michael's, which is the Sawgrass SG500. So this is a sublimation printer. So that's what we're going to be talking about today. Above it are the EasySubli inks, the CMYK. Now this is a pack that you can get at Michael's that will come in a package or any other authorized Siser distributor. They do carry these machines, and the EasySubli inks are what we have loaded in this SG500. Again, this is a sublimation printer. So if you don't know anything about sublimation after this class, definitely go talk with Sawgrass. They can give you top to bottom everything you need to know about the sublimation printers. It is what we're going to need to use in order to utilize the Siser EasySubli, which is what we're going to be using today. So my Sawgrass SG500 is already loaded with the EasySubli inks. Also, along the way, while we're going through this, I know I'm not there, I know you're watching a pre-recorded video, but leave any questions you have. You know you can reach out to me. I probably have talked to a bunch of you guys that are out there, and I'm going to do a start to finish project from setting up to in my Silhouette studio to sending it over to my printer to cutting it to heat applying it onto these awesome 100% cotton garments that were also brought to you by Michael's. These are just Gildan t-shirts. They hooked me up with these colors, so I felt it was appropriate to do something Christmas themed. And again, that is exactly what we have ready to go in this holiday Siser art book, clip art book pack. Obviously Halloween is behind us. You still have Thanksgiving as well, which also has awesome artwork to go with that if you have projects you want to work on, and then of course Christmas, and then all the other ones to start off the next year. So again, for those that don't know about sublimation, sublimation is something that you need to, well, the process of sublimation essentially is described as a solid to gas. That is the process, and it's all conducted by heat, and it's high heat. So in the past, it used to be you were limited to only white polyesters in regards of clothing or textiles to wear if you wanted to sublimate on them. What we did is we took actually an experiment we did over here, which was the sublimation on the white glitter. I'm sure you guys have seen that video I did a long time ago. It blew up. That allowed people to sublimate multicolor images on our Siser white glitter, which then was able to be applied onto 100% dark cottons, which you cannot do with sublimation. So the middle ground is where Siser lies, and that's what EasySubli came into play. So just a couple years ago, we came out with this product called EasySubli heat transfer vinyl, and what it is it is a polyester coating on the surface. It is a heat transfer vinyl that you can print on with your Sawgrass printer. So that's what we're going to do. So when you get your packet of EasySubli, so I'm going to work with a couple sheets here. Now these packs will come in various sizes. What I'm working with right now are 8x5 or 8.5 by 11 sheets. So these are going to fit right into the SG500. When you open this bottom drawer, everyone asks, how do you lay your EasySubli in there? There's that smooth, shiny side, and then there's that little bit more of a coarse surface. That's the surface that's going to get printed directly on. So to load up your SG500, you're going to place it with the shiny side facing up. And now we can close that, and it's good to go. Now when you set up this printer, and again, when you use the EasySubli, when you plug this in, it's very, very basic. You're going to plug it in, you're going to plug it into your computer, and your computer is going to prompt you to get the Sawgrass Print Manager. Now that is very important to make sure that you do that when you're setting up your printer here. The Sawgrass Print Manager is then going to take you through the steps of what inks are you putting into your machine. So it's very important to make sure that if you are using Siser EasySubli inks, that's what you tell the print manager, because it's already going to set you up with the Siser EasySubli profile. Plug in and play. Not much you have to do once that's already set to go. But you do want to make sure that once you have that on your computer, that you have the print manager, the Sawgrass print manager, that is doing the running instead of printing directly to it. We're going to try to do our best to make sure we paint the picture. For those that know Silhouette Studio, I know a majority of you have used Silhouette Studio, so you can kind of understand what I'm working with. I'm going to just talk you through it and use my best, so make sure you follow the steps I'm saying. Again, I am using one of these clip art book packs. So this is already pre-made artwork that we're using today. All you have to do is plug it into your USB. It has all the images in separated files. I thought it would be appropriate to use this one called Tree Rex for one of these shirts, which is pretty awesome. It's a multicolor image. This Tree Rex has 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 colors on it. So that means I would have to press 5 different Siser heat transfer vinyls to get this applied to my garment. Instead, we're going to print directly to it. Now, first thing you're going to do is you're going to open up your file. You're going to pull that up, just go up to the open, make sure your Silhouette Studio is open. For this dongle, it's going to pop up, it may say holidays when you go and open up the file. And again, it's going to have SVGs, it's going to have other cuttable files in there. Most of us use SVGs. In that, the one I'm looking at is Tree Rex. It has a split or a stacked options. The split option is already, all the colors I just said, the 5 colors, are already separated in the file. The stacked option is all of them together, so you don't really have to do anything with that. So it's up to you, but in this case, since we're going to be printing, I'm going to keep it with the stacked. So I'm going to open that up. The first thing you want to do in your Silhouette Studio is make sure you set up your page. So you're just going to go over to your page setup. You're going to make sure that you adjust the width and the height to 8.5 by 11. So when you do that, you're just it's gonna immediately adjust your printing area. This is very important. Now you're not adjusting the cutting mat. If you have a 12-inch cutter, keep it at 12 by 12. That's what the mat we're going to be using today is. But what's important is that you adjust the media size. So you're going to adjust it to a custom 8.5 by 11. That is the size of the sheet. So what you're going to do next, once you have that adjusted, is you're going to go back over to the page setup, and there's the 3 options up on top that say page setup, it says grid setting, and then next to it, it says registration marks. And once you go over to the registration marks, you want to click on. And when you click on, you're going to notice that it already creates a registration mark within that 8.5 by 11 sheet. And what that's going to do is allow this print on the EasySubli to be read on my Silhouette. So it's very important that you do these steps first. Now what we're going to do is take our Tree Rex design. I'm going to highlight the whole thing, and what you want to do is size it to be within the red box you're going to see. So you're going to see the red box, you're going to see the corners have that lattice effect on it. You want to make sure that your image is within that. It's not outside the red box, it's not in the lattice area. You want to make sure that it fits right in the exposed white open area inside all of that. I hope it makes sense. You'll see it once you get visual with it. Now what you're going to do is you're going to size it to as big as you can possibly get to utilize that. I know it kind of restricts you at this size. It looks like about the biggest I can get here is about almost 7 inches wide. So I'm going to keep it at about almost 7 inches wide, which the length comes out to being just over 8 inches. So you can still get a full front image for any size garment. So you can still utilize quite a bit here. Now, the next thing you're gonna do once you have that all set is we need to now create a cut line for this. Now, I know you're looking at it as like everything's vector. If you wanted to, you could send each one of these individually to your silhouette and cut them again with Siser product. But when you're printing, you want to make sure that the only thing that is noticed by your silhouette is just the cut line. So what I'm going to do is I completely highlighted every attribute of my Tree Rex design. I'm copying it, and then what I'm going to do is go up to the very top, and it says Weld selected shapes. So up at the top towards the right of your screen in Silhouette Studio, there's an option kind of right under where it says library and send. There's a Weld selected shape. You're going to make sure you copy your image first, hit that Weld selected shape, and now what you'll do is go down, right click on that image. Do not move it. Just right click on it. You're going to make it a compound path. Now that's one giant piece. Now what you're going to do up at the far left of your screen, you're going to take that color out. So when you click down, you're going to have a lattice option. It's going to take the color out. Next to it is going to be your stroke. You want to make sure that you click on a color. That's going to be your cut line. So that stroke is now your cut line. You absolutely don't want to move anything now. So without moving anything, you now have that cut line drawn with your vector shape. You're going to hit Control F, and what that is now doing is placing that image you copied directly on top of your cut line. So the next step you're going to do is right click on that foreground image, and then at the bottom it says send to back. And what you're going to do, you're going to click send to back. Now what you're going to notice is your stroke line is going to be at the forefront. That is your cut line. Now you have your print in the back. Now we're almost ready to go to send to our printer. I hope this makes sense. Again, just listen to the steps that I'm saying. We're set here. Now here's where it might get a little tricky for you to remember this step. What you're going to do is click on that cut line stroke. So that one you just made, you're going to click on that, and then you're going to hit Control X, and that is going to copy it or cut it. So it's going to take it out. Now all you have left is the actual print that you're sending over to your printer. That's all we need sent over to the printer. But do not make sure you don't copy anything after that, because what you have saved in your computer right now by hitting Control X is your cut line. We don't want anything to move around. So the next step we're going to do without moving anything is go up to File, Print, and once you hit File, Print, your print option is going to come up. Then you're going to get that normal print screen that you're going to get. Normally when you print something and it tells you where do you want to send this print, to which printer. It's very important to make sure that you click on the Sawgrass Print Manager. So that is why I said in the beginning, when you set up your Sublimation printer, that you have the Sawgrass Print Manager ready to go. Once that is in your system and you click that Sawgrass Print Manager like I just did, it's now going to generate that Print Manager program, which is going to now pop up. So it might take a second for it to pop up, but once it pops up at the top, it's going to have print settings. It's going to say what Sawgrass you're using, which is the SG500. First tab that pops up says material. You're going to say what substrate you're printing on. It's going to default to Siser EasySubli vinyl when you put in the EasySubli inks. If you're using other inks, you're going to actually have to go down in that drop down and pick the substrate. But again, if you have the EasySubli inks in there, your substrate should say EasySubli vinyl. Print quality, keep it at high quality. The paper, it's going to say EasySubli again, vinyl. If you're using other inks, this is very important. If you're not using these EasySubli inks, make sure you toggle down in that paper section to make sure you get to that EasySubli. Once we're at this point, we're good. The bottom also says mirror. So there's an option to click that says mirror. In this case, you do not mirror your EasySubli image. because the way it prints out is the way it's going to get to your garment. So don't click that mirror option. The other options you have are to go over to the tab that says jobs. There's an option in there that says copies. So if you wanted to print out a couple of these at one time, you can adjust that. We're going to do one for now. So once that's good to go, you should see the little image. I'm going to send it over to the printer here by just simply hitting print. And it may take a second. You know, it's just going to load up your printer. Okay, so when you're pulling the EasySubli transfer off, do not touch the area of the print. It's very important not to, you know, because it is vulnerable ink. So the ink doesn't actually get saturated into the material until the heat application side. So it is important to make sure that you don't touch or smear this area. So what we're going to do is we're going to turn this heat press on real fast and we're going to move on to the next step. Stick around. So the next step we're going to do, and I also want to say, because again I am using this new Siser Craft heat press today with EasySubli with printing on it. All you need to do is set your heat press or your home iron or easy press to 311 degrees. I know that sounds funny, but for those that know us, we are an Italian company, and when we manufacture stuff, it comes out in Celsius, so when it gets converted over to Fahrenheit, it is odd numbers. So 311 degrees is what we tell people here in Fahrenheit when it comes to using or applying the EasySubli transfer. Before we get to that point, what I wanted to say was when you have your heat press on, another thing you might notice before I get to that, I know I keep going back and forth, but before you get to that point, I know you're probably going to notice too that the print itself looks muted. Now that is normal. So don't think that you printed something and it didn't come out vibrant initially, because this is what happens when you initially print on the EasySubli. When the colors pop is when the heat application portion happens. So we're not there yet. Don't be discouraged if the print doesn't look up to par to your standards. It will get there once we apply it. All you're going to do is set your EasySubli transfer under the heat. You're not going to close it. You're not actually applying the heat onto it. All I'm going to do, just pay attention, I'm not closing it all the way. I'm just going to shock it. So what's happening here, and I'm going to hold this for about a minute, and what that's going to do is kind of cure or kind of shock that ink. All right, so I kind of shocked it, and you're probably not going to notice it on camera because that's the unfortunate thing, but the colors did already come out a little more vibrant. This isn't the finished product, but certainly before I put it down under there, the colors were not as bright as they are right now. So that is basically cured. Now, what I'm going to do is go back into my Silhouette Studio. You want to make sure that you hit Control F, and it's going to place it exactly to where the design was. You can delete that image. You can delete the image that we just printed. We don't need that. And then hit Control F, and that's going to place your cut line directly in the spot it needs to be. I do recommend before you send it over to your Sawgrass, like if we rewound a little bit, there is the print bleed option that I didn't tell you to click on. So when you are in your page setup and you're on your registration marks page, there's a bottom point that says print bleed. Make sure that box is selected when you go to do this print. We're going to take our mat, we're going to line up on our mat exactly how it is in your image, or on your Silhouette Studio rather. And then we're going to load this up. Okay. Now once that's loaded, we have our cut line in there. The next thing we're going to do is, without touching anything, we're going to go in the Silhouette Studio over to Send, which is the top right. You're going to click the Send. You're going to make sure that you have your cameo selected. Now, for settings for EasySubli, always recommend doing test cuts. If you haven't downloaded the Siser North America app, make sure you get that on your phone. We have recommended cut settings for all of our products right there. You can always go to our website at CaesarNA.com. We do have recommended cut settings for all of our products. We have it for EasySubli, but I always tell people, even if you look at a recommended cut settings, that you still do test cuts to make sure that it is set correctly for your cutter. Need to make sure that I have the heat transfer. I keep it on heat transfer smooth. I have my auto blade selected. I'm going to adjust my notch down to 3, and I'm going to bump my force up to about, I think it was, I'm going to go with 14. I think that'll work. I'm going to keep the speed at 8. It should be good to go. And then once you hit send down at the very bottom, you're going to get that little box that pops up that says send mirrored or send as is. And I know you guys are used to Siser heat transfer vinyls where you know to send it mirrored, but you do not want to send your cut file mirrored. You're going to cut it exactly how you see it on your EasySubli transfer. So I'm going to click send as is. And now what it's doing is reading the registration marks on the EasySubli. That beautiful sound. All right, so we're gonna take that off. Okay, now, next step, we still need to make sure that we weed away our excess material, all the cavities. Another awesome addition that Michaels now carries is the Siser weeder as an accessory, which is awesome. You guys know that that's always my favorite tool to use every time I'm at the ATS event. Miss you guys so much. All right, so what I'm gonna do, weed out all the remainder. And you'll notice, here's a prime example. Like I said, just make sure that you add the bleed. I'm making the mistake to show you. It's not terrible if you don't. This was actually pretty good cut from what I see. But if you give yourself a little bleed, you have a little bit more of a wiggle room on how the vinyl cutter shifts potentially. And in this case, it's very subtle. The excess white is not bad. So again, I know you're probably used to printing or cutting your Siser heat transfer vinyl in reverse and looking at the adhesive side, but in this case, we're looking at the front. So if you've ever used Siser Easy Patterns, which I'll talk about a little bit at the end of the class here, you know, with any patterned heat transfer vinyl, you cut without mirroring it up on the surface. So you're familiar that you need to now take some kind of mask to lift this off because the adhesive is on the back side here. So this is what it looks like, and as you can tell, I mean, because I didn't add the bleed, you can see some very thin white lines. It's not horrible, but again, if you were to use the bleed option that I didn't end up using in the print, it would have given you a little bit more wiggle room and the colors would have come out. But so next step, very important, this is done. So this next step is also only for things that you print with EasySubli that are more than one piece. So again, if you've ever dealt with any printed heat transfer vinyls, you know, like any Sparkleberry patterns, any of the Siser Easy patterns, those kind of transfers that you need a mask to lift your image up and lay it down, we need a mask for this because this is multiple pieces. If this would have been one solid piece, if it would have only been the dinosaur itself, you could simply peel this off the backing by just taking a corner and just peeling the backing off. But in this case, we have multiple pieces, so we need to make sure that we get this all off at one time to place it correctly onto the garment. So this is where it's also very important that when you are using Siser EasySubli heat transfer vinyl, that you are also using Siser EasySubli mask. Now, I can't stress this enough because I know there's a lot of masks out there for other vinyls that you use for either heat transfer vinyl or decal vinyl, and they're all different formulated masks. So it's very important that if you're using EasySubli, you need to use a mask. If you need to use a mask, that you use Siser EasySubli mask. It's important because the formulation of the EasySubli mask is not a polyester base. It is a silicone base. The important there is what I've been saying through this class, that sublimation only works with white polyester. So if you use the polyester coating mask on something that has sublimation on it, the polyester of the mask itself is going to pull the ink right out of your transfer. So that's why this mask is very important to use. So save this little paper backing. And what you're going to do is lay on a flat surface with the EasySubli mask laying down onto the surface with the sticky side facing up. And you'll notice that the EasySubli dimension, or the EasySubli mask dimension, is smaller than the EasySubli transfer, the heat transfer vinyl. That's because we already knew that because of those registration marks, you kind of have to bring your image in a little bit smaller. So that's why it's a little bit tinier than the transfer itself, for those that may question that. Okay, so you want to lay that down as smooth as possible. Once you have that, then you're going to take a squeegee. I have the Siser squeegee here. Our new squeegees now have the plastic end and a felt end. We came up with that just because, obviously, for those that know the Easy PSV, you have decal vinyl, and if you want to use that, and we're actually going to use it in this case. So here's the thing that people that may have dealt with EasySubli in the past and may not have been able to get it to mask correctly. That is mainly because, and ironically, you're putting too much pressure down. It's a couple different things. One is that you're pressing too hard when you go to mask it, and what that's causing it to do is actually push against itself, which doesn't let it to actually bond correctly. The other part is you didn't do the actual shocking portion of it that we did earlier, to where the ink is too saturated still, so it doesn't allow it to mask correctly. So if you do those things, you add a little bit of decent pressure, not a whole lot. I'm using the felt side. Just make sure your cut is good. And then peel the rest off. If you do have a little bit of lifting, if you need to go back and adjust a little bit, if you see any of it sticking, all you have to do is go back and squeegee it a little bit more. It's not the end of the world. But you do want to get this backing off right away, off your EasySubli once it's cut. You don't want to let that sit with the mask on it. And now we're good to go with our transfer. But if you weren't going to immediately apply it, that's why we saved the backing to the EasySubli transfer. We're going to lay that back down. Now if you want to, you can save this transfer for a little bit later. Now, I just want to talk about real quickly on the storage of a printed transfer on EasySubli heat transfer vinyl. Once you print this all comes around. Once you print this, like I said, it's going to come out dull. It's because the inks are very vulnerable. Now what happens is, again, the process of sublimation, solid to gas. When that comes out of a sublimation printer and the ink is sitting on the surface of the EasySubli, it's not going to be completely bonded to that fabric until it gets to the heat application. So, what you may have experienced, or what you might experience, is if you print your EasySubli transfer and then you set it aside for days, what you'll notice is that the color will start coming in a little more vibrant on the transfer, and it didn't get pressed yet. And you might be like, well, this is actually better. But what's happening is the sublimation ink starts gassing out. So what's happening is it's actually weakening the overall effect of that transfer. So our suggestion at Siser is you apply your EasySubli transfer after being printed no longer than about 48 hours. So after it's printed, try to avoid waiting any longer than 48 hours to then heat apply it. You can apply it after, but we're going to tell you that the actual overall effect, the color vibrancy, all that stuff is going to be a little bit weakened by that time. So I just wanted to let you know on that. Otherwise, if it's just the raw material and you didn't print on it, you can keep it on the shelf. You don't need to worry about it. Just keep everything just like all other Siser products. Keep it in a climate controlled, out of direct sunlight, out of high humidity, and you can store it and keep it on the shelves for as long as you want. It's just when it comes to being printed, that's when you want to make sure that you utilize it probably sooner than later. Okay? All right, so now we're gonna decorate a shirt. Again, this is an awesome long sleeve Gildan shirt that our friends at Michaels hooked me up with. I'm gonna decorate it, put our Sublimation transfer directly onto it. This is something you could not sublimate directly onto because it is 100% cotton and it's a darker color. As you see, I'm gonna turn my heat press. Normally you would feed it this way, but again, the new Siser Craft heat press is 9 inches high by 12 inches wide. So this is my surface area to press on. Because my transfer is just under 9 inches, I mean, I can probably press it that way. Yeah, you know what, I'll press it that way. But if you wanted to, because you have the 12 inches this way, very carefully, because this is on, you can also thread your shirt or your garment this way. So you could utilize it to where your width is 9 inches and your height is 12 inches, if that makes sense. Or the traditional way, and what we'll do today, is just simply lay our garment on normally and feed it through this way. So the first thing I'm going to do, again, I am at 311 degrees. I have that set up here by clicking the mode. I'm at 311 degrees, click mode again. I'm going to be at 13 seconds, click mode one more time. That's my home screen. This is my over the center adjustable pressure knob. This is what is going to indicate how much pressure I have when I close my heat press. So I want to do a preheat. I want to be at a medium to firm pressure, which is where I'm at. But if I wanted to dial it back, simply counterclockwise is going to release the pressure. Clockwise is going to increase the pressure. So I want to make sure I'm at a medium to firm pressure. Good to go there. Also make sure that you have a cover sheet of sorts. I'm going to be using just regular parchment paper. That will work as a cover sheet perfectly fine. Now that is garbage. And again, I'm going to lay my transfer down. If it does peel off a little bit, that's not a big deal. All right, so my transfer's down. I'm going to lay my cover sheet. Again, what's beautiful with EasySubli, it's simply about 15 seconds for heat application. Again, normal sublimation, you're almost 60 seconds at 400 degrees. And just to notice the slight difference in what the temperature is going to be, I mean the overall effect. Oh, you could totally see that. Look at that. Peel hot. Check that out. Sweet. You notice that difference in the color vibrancy even after I pressed it one last time. Obviously this little box you see will go away. The cotton is, the reason why that's happening is it's taking out the moisture of the garment. So eventually once that gets back to normal, you won't see that box. But yeah, I mean the important thing is the multiple colors that I'm able to press or print on with the EasySubli heat transfer vinyl. That's all it takes. Again, you can manipulate and adjust those colors however you want. That is going to be up to you and how you set it up in the Silhouette Studio. But this now allows you to do things on any kind of fabric that isn't just white polyester. Gives you the option of doing full color designs like this, still using a Siser heat transfer vinyl. Lots and lots of potential with EasySubli. That's just kind of scratching the surface and giving you a quick synopsis of what the product is, how you can use it. A question we get all the time after this with that mask is, can you reuse the mask? Because I know you've used easy patterns or you've used, you know, possibly sparkleberry patterns, and maybe you reuse the mask on every transfer that you use. I do not recommend using this more than once. As you can probably see, hopefully in the camera, there is a faint coloring of the sublimation inks on it. It isn't as drastic as what I was saying would happen with a polyester carrier, but with the EasySubli, it still pulls some of that color out. My concern is if you ever try to reuse this again, is those inks will reactivate and then be applied on your next transfer. And you don't want that. So I don't recommend reusing the EasySubli mask more than one time. But yeah, absolutely. That is when you would use the mask because we have multiple attributes. If you were using it and you had one solid piece like the shirt I showed you earlier, an image like these is one solid rectangle. So all you had to do is peel that off, lay it down, and heat apply it. You wouldn't need to necessarily use the mask. It's up to you, but usually it's only recommended when you have multiple colors. I wanted to also talk about, because I know there's probably some people that don't have a Sawgrass machine, they may have another sublimation printer. Can you still use EasySubli? Absolutely, but you're not going to be able to do the exact process I showed you today in this class. You're going to have to do a two-step process. We can explain it later on. I can't explain it in this class, but you can absolutely use it. I don't want to discourage you. That now segueing into those that have a Sawgrass, but they have the SubliJet inks or the other ink set that they have. Can you still use EasySubli? Absolutely. You just need to make sure that when you go to the Sawgrass Print Manager, that you make sure that with that ink setting, that you adjust to the EasySubli paper is what they have under the drop-down. It's a heat transfer vinyl, but make sure that you are on the EasySubli option for the substrate. I want to show you just a side-by-side of the two different ink sets with the same image. So the overall effect, this one over here on my right side, here is SubliJet inks, and then the other side is the EasySubli inks. Same exact image, the same profiles, but a very, and it's probably going to be hard to pick up on camera, very, very subtle, not very drastic of a difference. So I don't want you to be discouraged if you don't have the EasySubli ink set up in your printer, and you already have the SubliJet. You can't just switch out the ink types. You can't just flush your system and put in new inks. I would never advise that. Sawgrass would never advise that. But don't be discouraged if you still want to use the EasySubli, the heat transfer vinyl. And then, for those that actually do stuff on other sublimation options, I just kind of want to show you another couple examples on hard surfaces when it comes to sublimation, because on the other side of the coin, people that have EasySubli inks are like, well, what if I want to press it on a hard substrate and I don't want to press it only on EasySubli heat transfer vinyl? Can I still use that on sublimation? Absolutely. And here's another example on a hard metal surface, two different ink sets, same profiles, on the same substrates. And I know, again, it's probably hard to pick up on camera, but the top one here is EasySubli inks, the bottom one is the SubliJet inks. So to the naked eye, to people that probably don't look too close to very, very fine details, they're probably not going to notice it. It does take a minute to really recognize the difference between the two. I just want to show you some examples, just to show you like, hey, you can use either one. So don't be discouraged if you have one ink set or the other. These are samples I've been around the block with a couple times, but just to show you, you may have seen them already before. Two different ink sets, very, very subtle on what the overall effect is. All right, so that is all I have for my class today. Thank you guys so much. Please, again, keep asking questions. I am Joe with Siser North America. Thank you guys so much for hanging out, and I'll see you soon, I hope. Have a good one.